Right, so just to give you a bit of a rundown and the inside line on the Mania final, which has just gone. It's just happened, so it's just while it's fresh in my memory. I've got my t-shirt back on, brought my board home this time, which is going to go in the garage. And yeah, just what happened really. It was turned out to be a very interesting day, a very memorable day, but a very interesting one as well. So in practice, I've been about 3 times to Hayfield on the island lake. And it was always red hot, and there was a lot of fish cruising around near the top. And it looked for all as if it was going to be a waggler and a pole shallow match. And that's what I spent a lot of time practicing really. I had a down a feeder. I didn't really catch much on a bomb, but it just seemed that all the fish wanted to be, you know, in 4 foot water or less to the island, or, you know, really well up in the water. I'll just show you a bit of footage as well from a final practice session. It was 25 degrees and this was on peg, permanent peg 13 just above the island, and there was just fish everywhere when I got there. And then the draw was on Tuesday, the Tuesday before in the morning. So we had 4 days really to prepare for our peg. I ended up with peg 2, which is permanent peg 26, which I didn't really fancy. I'd be lying if I said I was mega happy, but to be honest, there's worse pegs. And Jamie Hughes won the last Maven match this off peg 25, although it was a lot different conditions. And the biggest problem that I could see, and what I envisaged might happen, is what happened last year with the same pegging, in that all the juniors were on the side bank to the right, and the 30s, the next gen match. I think there was sort of 8 of them, 6 of them on that bank and 2 on the other bank. So there was going to be a lot of pressure on our end of the lake. And what I expected to happen was everybody to catch a few early fish, and then the fish would probably settle somewhere on the island or further up, wherever they felt happiest. It seems to happen all the time at Hayfield. The big old wise fish, and they tend to go around and then they settle somewhere, and that's the area. And if you're in the area, you know, it's happy days. And yeah, come the match, and we had all our, you know, COVID tests and things beforehand. And I drove right the way around the lake and had a good look at it on my way to my peg. And it was noticeable that it was conditions like we'd not had anything like in practice. It got a lot cooler. It was about 15 degrees and there was quite a strong wind on, more over towards my side of the lake, and it was sort of getting channeled by the island. So those on the island pegs on our side, they had the wind quite bad, to be honest. And yeah, what was noticeable was there was no fish moving at all. There was a lot of things going on already at that time in the morning. A lot of music going out and things, and cranes and boats and things going to the island. And yeah, so I think the fish, it seemed to me like the fish knew something was up. They knew Fisher was on, and got to my peg, and there was a few fish topping around, and I was actually quite optimistic. I was a lot more optimistic when I got to my peg than I was when I drew it. And I said to my bankman and Mark that I thought it was going to be a bomb day. I thought that would be the method today, just because it was a bit cooler. Set up a lot of gear. I did a lot of preparation for the match. You've got to, when there's so much at stake. You know, you can't afford to be having a shortage of something. If you break a hook length 2 during the match, or if you bomb your line breaks and your bomb rod or your waggler or something like that. So I set up a lot of rods. I set up 4 different waggler rods, basically because the difference in the wind. So the wind, sometimes the wind really came through, in which case you need a bigger, heavier waggler rod, heavier waggler. And then if it went calm, you could fish with a smaller waggler and try and get a bite on the drop as it splashed in. So I set up 2 bomb rods as well, duplicated one just in case. And I set up quite a lot of shallow rigs as well. I set up a short rig, and for fishing about 7-8 metres out, where it's a full top kit deep. I had quite a heavy float on, probably about 1.5 gram, probably a bit more than that. It took a lot of shot. And yeah, it was towing a bit as well, so that's why you need them heavy floats. Everybody started short. The whistle went. I was a little bit rushed, to be honest. I don't know why. I only just made it in time. I was a bit stressed at the start, quite a nervy start. So I started short like most other people did. Tapped in my pellets and went over with a pellet on the hook, and had a fish quite quickly actually, which really helps in a match like that. I didn't actually have a bite, as I'll show you now. I've got some footage. I'll show you what happened, and I actually commented to my mate Mark at the time because I was surprised, but it was really nice to get that early fish.
No one's hooked a fish on this bank yet, Ben. Well, let's hope it's foul, it's in the right place. Settler in the mouth then.
What was that, a carp?
Yeah, just a small carp, yeah.
Is he fishing shallow?
No, he's fishing on the deck short on pellets.
So I really fancied getting another bite off that line after such a quick start, and but it just didn't happen, unfortunately. And Andy Bennett was 2 anglers to my left on 23, which is a great peg, and he was really fancied to do well. There was a lot of pressure pile on Andy. Did feel for him a bit with that. There was, as I say, it was billed as his, going for the hat trick, and there was a massive crowd, a lot of cameras, a lot of interviews and things. So he was under the cosh a bit. And I don't know if he got a fish short or not, but he went long on the pole pretty early on the bottom, and he caught 2. And after that first half an hour, he was leading with 4 kilos. So it's a very slow start for Hayfield. And my fish weighed a kilo, just under, I think. So it wasn't a bad start by any means. And I've gone shallow as well after that. I probably gave it, 15 minutes short. And then I went shallow where I've been feeding 6mm pellets long. And just to try and, just because I was going for it really, and if it was going to be a shallow day, I wanted to know that. And never got a bite shallow. And a few people starting to catch a few fish now, and I really needed another couple of fish really. So I decided then I didn't want to go out into the middle of the lake too soon, because when you do that, you risk pushing fish away from you. And so what I did was I picked up my bomb rod, and I've just thrown it over my pole line and loose fed a bit heavier over the top, and only fishing 14.5 meters, I think. It was a bit difficult to fish 16 meters because of the wind, and lo and behold, I've just chucked over with an 8mm, waited probably 4 or 5 minutes, and it's the rod's gone off the rest. So got that in, and a couple of casts later I got another one, just slightly smaller. So all of a sudden I'd put myself quite back up there, and at the end of the first hour I had 3 carp for 4 kilo odd, but only 7 kilos was winning the whole match at that point. I think it was Jamie Hughes, and it was looking like it was going to be a really sort of tense, nervy, tight match, and if it was 40 kilos needed to win, then it was anybody's game. And I still had the longer chuck on the bomb and the waggler to go at, which I fancied being my main line, to be honest. That's when I've started sort of moving out a bit and on the rods, fully expecting the tip to go round or the waggler to go under. It just never happened. I don't know why, because I had a nice chuck out into the middle there. There was a bit of pressure, obviously, from the other bank, from the juniors, and everyone was sort of going out by this point, but never had a bite. And I came back in on the bomb and had a few bites and things, but then I think I went probably an hour without having a fish. And this was kind of the turning point of the match. But what happens on sort of pegs 11 and 12 are they're on a little bit of a point, and then the lake sort of bends back in and it's cut back. So the blocker was cut back a bit. The very end angler who wasn't in the match, but it was just a blocker angler to prevent the peg 12 emptying it down the edge, which happens a lot in opens at Hayfield. And so he was set back a bit, was the blocker, and Harry, my mate Harry, Bignell, who was on the end on peg 12, he's really started to sort his peg out then after about sort of, an hour and a half, I think. He's found where the fish were. There's a gravel bar in front of his peg, I think, about 40 metres. I think he actually started fishing a bit longer than that, but then he came back onto it. It was a bit shallower. It's 5 foot deep. So bear in mind the rest of the lake, I think Sam next to him probably had about 8 or 9 foot, and then the rest of us have probably got the best part of 10 to 12 foot of water on the pole line. So Harry found the fish on this bar, and I think what had happened is the fish had, just like I thought, everyone had caught a few early and then they'd mooched round and swam round, and then they'd eventually found an area where the anglers weren't. They're so crafty. At the top of the lake, and they settled there, and obviously Harry was on the better bank, and he was the nearest to them, and he's a brilliant angler on fishing a pole for carp, fishing shallow or pinging pellets, hard pellets along on the deck, and he's just really started to nail them then on this bar, fishing hard pellets, getting a lot of bites, a lot of fish, and big fish as well. It was noticeable that the bigger fish were up that end, whereas the fish we were getting were a lot smaller. At that point, unfortunately, after 2 hours, it was almost game over virtually. Harry was really motoring, and no one else was catching anything. From a personal point of view, I'd been through sort of everything I'd set up really. The only thing I was getting odd indications on was my pole line, the bomb over the pole line, but I couldn't get another fish. I felt there was a couple of fish there, but I think I was overdoing it with the feed, and had a word with my bank runner Mark. And what we decided to do was, to be honest, I didn't really get his consent. I just sort of got up and did it. And I went and got a 2 gram rig out of my box and plumbed up on a pole at 4.5 metres. And I hadn't set that up at the start because I wanted to catch shallow. And once you start blasting bait in shallow, you kind of have too much bait on the bottom to catch on hard pellets on the bottom. So that's why it's better to chuck a bomb over, especially in the summer months. So a lot of these waters, it depends on the depth of the bottom really. So if you've got somewhere that's really shallow and silty, it's a bomb on the pole line's a really good method because you don't foul up them, and you can feed lots of bait. You get lots of fish in your peg, and you'll only hook one when it's on properly. You're not got a float to strike at liners. The same happens when it's a deep venue as well because of the tow. You can fish a bomb over your pole line then just to nail it still. And that's what I thought at the start, to be honest. I thought I'd be better off fishing a bomb, but it turned out it was super hard, and I thought it would be a lot better to keep things really tight, cut down on the feed, and nail a pole rig over the top, a heavy pole rig. And I could tell there was a couple of fish there. Apologies for name dropping, but when I used to work at Angling Times and Angling Times Advanced magazines, it was something that Steve Ringer said to me once when we're doing a Q&A or something for the paper or something, really stuck with me. And he said, if you think something in a match, do it. Okay, don't dwell on it. Don't get to the match and think I wish I'd end the match and think I wish I'd done that or tried that or got up and set that up. If you've got a gut instinct, a gut feeling that something you should be setting something up or you should be doing something different in the match, just do it. do it straight away. Don't dwell on it. And if it doesn't work, at least you've ruled it out. Okay, so I got up and set this pole rig up, and within 4 or 5 minutes, I was playing another carp, and that turned out to be the only thing I could really get bites on. And even then, it was a long old wait and a long old struggle. And from then the match just sort of fizzled out a bit for most of us. Andy Bennett, again, amazing angler, he was struggling as well. So was the German angler Tobias next to me, and so was John Harvey. Had a couple of fish early and was right up there, and then he couldn't get a bite, so my right on peg 1. So I just kept on trying out long on the bottom on the waggler, and it just never even looked like going at all. And I caught a couple of fish later on the pole again, and even if I could just have strung, it looked although Harry was just a certain winner, there was a fight on for second, and there was also 2.5 grand sections to fish for. So it looked for all that 20-25 kilo could take some money, and I think Harry already had like 60 odd kilos or something with an hour and a half to go or something like that. So it was just done and dusted was the match by then, and all the crowd were up there. But my match, unfortunately, I just couldn't make anything happen at all, and I ended up with 6 carp. There were very small carp for Hayfield as well, for 7.5 kilos, and amazingly that's beaten I think almost a third of the field as that. That's how difficult it was, especially on the other side. So not great from a fishing point of view, unfortunately, but it was just amazing day from start to finish. Just everything. The crowd were unbelievable. There's so many people behind us. The viewing figures have just been published, actually. I think the attendance, and there was over 10,000 people there, which is the best attended fish show ever. So it was just 10,000 people watching you fish, and on TV as well. And just nice to talk to people as well afterwards, wanting pictures and things, and some really good feedback about the channel, so it makes it all worthwhile doing it and making these if people enjoy them. And that's good, that's all good. So on to the winner, Harry. Just obliterated it. 85 kilo, I think. Just I think what Daly's Bankrunner said to me, and I absolutely agreed with him, is that I think most of the people in the match would have won. Most of the people in the final would have won the match off that peg, but not many of them would have caught that weight in the manner he did. So it was just got it bang on, really did. And really efficient, really clinical with his fishing. He had a lot of indications, and there was plenty of fish there, but he got his fishing quick, got his feeding right. You'll notice he was lifting his pole up as well quite high. And I think he was doing that because of the gravel bar he was fishing on, because it dropped off after that. So obviously, if he kept his pole low, his line might have grated on top of that bar as the fish went down over it. So good angling, very good angling. So made up for him. He'll change his life. All that is proper. So brilliant, Harry. Well done, mate. So that's about all to report, really. Just a bit of negativity on social media about the coverage and even the venue. There's no place like Hayfield. It is the place to have it. You can't control fish. Hopefully, I think that the Angling Trust and whoever pegs it will maybe have a look at the pegging next year. Maybe just alter the pegging a bit if it's possible. What you got to remember is, Fish Show isn't Fish Show without the TV and Matchroom and Sky. Everything has to be done for them, because we're very, very lucky to have them on board, supporting fishing, transmitting it live for 5 hours. That's what makes Fishermania. And we've got to be very grateful and thankful that we have that, because Barry Hearn, the chief of Matchroom, likes fishing. And so whatever whatever the format of fish show is, it has to conform with the filming and things, otherwise we don't have it. So as I say, it would be nice to maybe look at the pegging next year if possible. Just a little word on I haven't seen the commentary or any footage of the match yet, but I think it'd be great in this day and age to get someone like Jimmy Bullard on board as a commentator. You know, role models like Jimmy and other footballers who go fishing, David Seaman, Jamie O'Hara, people like that. Get some pundits on, some younger pundits maybe, just to appeal to a younger audience and inspire, you know, young role models who are regulars on Sky Sports, just to you know, get more people into fishing, get more younger people as well interested in fishing. I think there is a format that's been used a lot in Fishermania, but maybe it's time for a shake-up. Maybe it's time to you know, get fishing updated in the 21st century and get some youth on board and appeal to that audience. So anyway, I've blabbered on a bit too much, and yeah, that's all for me for Fisho for this year. Going to be doing my utmost to try and get there again next year on the qualifiers, because it's so good, it's such a great day out, and yeah, just it doesn't come around very often for sort of average people like me. So it's when you get a Fisho day, it's one to remember, one to keep. So yeah, cheers for watching, guys, and we shall see you on the next video. All been well. Thank you. Bye.